Alright, hey guys, today we are going to start something that can kind of seem a little daunting and tricky at times, but I promise the more that you practice and the more that you write it out, the better off you're going to be in order to figure out how this whole process works. Today we're starting on the circulatory system and how the blood flows through the heart. If you go to the blog, you're going to see that there's going to be something labeled the heart diagram. You're going to open up something that looks like this. I have already gone in and made it to where that you can type straight onto the document when you open it up. You're going to have to go over to the side of the computer, and I'll pull mine up actually while I'm going through this with you so that it makes more sense. You are going to open it up, and it is going to be fillable so that whenever you come on here, if you come over here to fill and sign, all of these random boxes that you see throughout this diagram, you can type straight into. If that's not what you want to do and you want to print it out, print it out. Either way works fine for me. I just need you to know the different steps on how this whole thing goes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and fill out our heart diagram. I have already, so if you look at the top, it says to label the heart parts. That's what we're going to do. And the blood vessels, also doing that, and indicate the flow through which the heart to the body tissues, out to the lungs, and back into the heart with arrows. I've provided you with those arrows here. The red and the blue make a big difference, and we will talk about that. The arrows for oxygenated blood are in red, so meaning they have oxygen. And if we remember from yesterday, arteries are what are going to take the oxygenated blood out to our extremities. And then we have blue arrows, which are our deoxygenated blood, which is the blood that's coming back to the heart to receive the oxygen from the lungs. Okay, so if you print this out and they're not red and blue, go ahead, and we want to make it look like this one. If this is how we're going to go, that's totally fine too. And you can type straight onto the document. Just remember that you have to hit fill and sign in order to actually fill out the document on your computer so that you can type straight onto it. All right, so I am going to click out of this and go back to this PowerPoint, not this PowerPoint, this one. And we are going to go straight through the circulatory system, filling out this heart diagram. So I'm going to walk you through and I'm going to show you how we can do this. It's going to be slow at first so that we can kind of figure out how this all kind of pans out together. But the circulatory system. All right, so how does the heart work is literally what we're going to go through. These are different parts of the heart. Okay, these are easily identifiable parts, so there's more than this that we're going to talk about. This is actually a real heart that someone's holding. So this is not on your worksheet, but something that you need to know. The heart is divided up into 4 chambers. Okay, so you can literally draw a cross through the whole heart, and it'll divide it perfectly into 4 sections: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, the top, these are going to be the places that we call our atriums. In the bottom, these 2 sections are going to be what we call our ventricles. Then, so that's top and bottom is how it can be divided. It could also be divided both right and left. Okay, so we're going to pop those up there. So we see again, the top, those are called our atriums. The bottoms, those are called our ventricles. And then we also want to look at our right side of the heart and our left side of the heart. So this would become, if we were looking at just this top square, it would become our right atrium. If we were looking down here at the bottom, it would become our right ventricle. But if we move anywhere across that midline, so that line we drew down the middle, that would be our left atrium and our left ventricle. Okay? So the next section, we have 4 different valves. On here, on your heart diagram, you're going to notice that they all look very similar, but they're all named something different. So what we're going to see from right to left, so we are going to see these all are going to, we're going to go back. Sorry. We're going to go back. So from right to left, the first one from the right side to the left side is called the tricuspid valve. Okay. The next one is our pulmonary valve. Then we are going to come all the way over to this left side, and that's the mitral valve. And then the aortic valve. So the order that I just went through those, pulmonary, tricuspid pulmonary, mitral, aortic, those are the order in which the blood flows through valves. There's a whole bunch of other parts before we actually get there, but these are the valves themselves. All right, so there are 13 steps in this whole process. So when we go through them, I want you to make sure that you number them and then label them. The first step is labeling the superior and inferior vena cava. Okay, I've already put those blue arrows up there for you. We would normally do that in class, but for all intents and purposes, we're not going to do that. I already did it for you. So, superior and inferior vena cava. So, you have 2 arrows, and I will try to show you the best that I can here. You have the superior, which is at the top, and inferior, which is at the bottom. Those are both going to be labeled number 1. So, superior, top of the heart, inferior, bottom of the heart, vena cava. Okay? Those are also, the largest veins. Veins carry what kind of blood? They carry deoxygenated blood, which is again why those are blue arrows. Blue indicates deoxygenated blood. All right. Second step is the right atrium. So that's this whole part right here. Okay, specifically it's pointing to this circle. So if we look here at mine, my right atrium is right there. Next in our pathway of the blood, so we went from the superior and inferior vena cava through the right atrium to the tricuspid valve. So that's that first weird opening that we see. Then through the valve, we go to a ventricle. So it's always going to go atrium, valve, ventricle. Okay? Atrium, valve, ventricle. Then we go to the right ventricle. It's also going to stay on the right. So we went from right atrium to the right ventricle. That's where the right ventricle is. So if we see that in my, when I printed it off, it becomes this lighter gray section, okay? Our 5th step in the pathway of the blood flow through the heart is the pulmonary valve. I'm so sorry. Our pulmonary valve. That is the next one. So in order to leave an atrium or leave a ventricle, I must go through a valve for my next step of the blood flow. Atrium, valve, ventricle, valve, out to somewhere else. We're about to talk about that. We're still deoxygenated, and that's because of one simple step. We then go to the pulmonary artery. So that's going to be this T that you see that goes across the top and the bottom of your diagram. But coach, you said that arteries carry oxygenated blood, and those arrows are blue. Okay, so those arrows are blue because the blood hasn't yet gone through to the lungs yet. Once it goes out to the lungs, it'll come back with oxygen. Okay? Makes sense because we breathe in and out, right? We are breathing in oxygen, okay, through our lungs. That's where our blood's going to go get the oxygen from. Pulmonary artery is going to trip you up, but it's the only one that's going to carry the deoxygenated blood. So it's an artery that carries deoxygenated blood, but it's the only one that we're going to talk about. From the pulmonary artery, we go out to the lungs. You don't have these out there, but I want you to draw them. Whether they're circles or whether you just put a little label on your other sheet if you're typing in. I put a label out to the side so you could label it lungs. Okay? That's the 7th step in the process. Okay, this is where we're going to see that color change. So we've gone out to the lungs and now the blood's coming back into the heart, meaning that there's now oxygen in the blood. The hemoglobin has done its job. It has collected the oxygen so that we can now go back through the heart and out to the extremities of the body. Okay? But Coach, you said that the arteries did all that work. Okay? Pulmonary, vein, and artery, they're going to trip you up. They are backwards. Okay? Pulmonary artery, that's the 6th step. Okay? That was going to carry our oxygen or our deoxygenated blood. That was this one right here. We went out to the lungs and now we're back in the pulmonary veins, and the veins are carrying this oxygenated blood. This is the only instance where the veins are going to carry the oxygenated blood. Okay, that's in step 8. Step 9 is the left atrium. Okay, so now we're on the left side of the heart. Okay, in order to go to the next place, to leave an atrium, I have to go through a valve. Okay, so the mitral valve is where we're going to flow from the left atrium through to the mitral valve, down to the left ventricle, and then to leave a ventricle, I have to go through yet another valve, the aortic valve. That's step 12. From the aortic valve, I go to the aorta, which is this big guy right here. Okay, it is the largest artery in our vein, and it is going to pump out the blood to the rest of our body and our extremities. Okay, so those are the 13 steps. Coach, I still have another blank at the bottom of my page. You do, but it's not considered a step. It's just a part of the heart that we need to know for our purposes in this class. Okay, that's all 13 steps within the process of how the blood starts out and finishes through the heart. It goes from deoxygenated all the way to the oxygenated blood, and then we of course would see the return of the blood back to our heart in order to get more oxygen once it's left from the aorta, right? Okay, so those are your 13 steps. This last section here at the bottom is a muscle. It is a thick muscle. It divides the heart, so it's that right and left side, and it's the septum. It's going to help that heart contract, okay? Because muscles do what? Muscles contract. Perfect, okay? It all makes sense. Okay, that's going to be the last blank that you have. We will talk about all of these different heart problems later, okay? This is a step and a process in which you're going to need to write out, okay? You will be putting this in order later on in this unit. So what I need you to do is to write this out, okay? You have it labeled right here on your paper, 1 through 13, the different steps. Now go get that separate sheet of notebook paper. Go get something else to help you remember how all of this worked, okay? Write out 1 through 13. Write out the steps that are oxygenated and the steps that are not oxygenated. Write them in blue and red ink so you can see where the change happens, okay? Again, any questions, just let me know. If you're having trouble with this document, let me know. I can send it to you a different way. I'm here for you guys. I know this is hard, and I wish that we could be together in class, but we can't be right now due to the circumstances of our health. So do the best that you can, ask all the questions you can, and we will rock this out together. Have a great day, guys. Bye.